In a land bathed in perpetual sunlight, there was a place called the Golden Valley. It wasn't just a name. Here, the sun's golden touch made every single crop shine like a precious treasure. Imagine endless fields of wheat, swaying and rippling in the gentle breeze, moving just like the waves of a golden ocean. Picture fruit trees, their branches heavy with ripe gifts, each one sparkling with morning dew like a tiny diamond. And the vegetables, oh, they lived in a community of their own, a vibrant society where they all helped each other grow strong and healthy. This peaceful existence wasn't by chance. The valley was protected by four legendary heroes, figures of myth and might. First, there was the corn spear guardian, whose aim was as true as the sunrise, his kernels sharp and ready. Then came the wise, sweet potato seer, whose deep connection to the earth allowed her to feel the valley's heartbeat and see visions of the future. Standing strong was the broccoli stone warrior, his florets as tough as granite, a steadfast shield against any threat, and finally the mint wind healer, whose soothing presence could mend any wound and whose fresh aroma brought life back to wilted leaves. For generations, they kept the Golden Valley a paradise, a symbol of life and prosperity. But even the brightest day can be overshadowed. One day, a darkness gathered on the horizon. It wasn't a storm of rain and thunder, but something far more sinister. A colossal sandstorm, the breath of the malevolent Dust King, began to roll in from the desert wastelands. It was a suffocating, gritty wave that blotted out the sun and choked the very air. The golden fields turned a dull, lifeless brown. The sparkling dew evaporated, leaving the fruit cracked and dry. The once happy vegetables began to wither, their leaves drooping as the curse of the Dust King sucked the moisture from the land. The valley was dying. Seeing the devastation, the four heroes knew they couldn't stand by. The sweet potato seer closed her eyes, and in a vision of swirling sand and shadow, she saw the source of the curse. The Dust King, reigning from his sand palace deep within the desert. The heroes had their mission. They packed their courage and set out towards the desert border, leaving their beloved fading home behind them. Their journey into the unknown had begun. The lush green of the valley quickly gave way to an endless expanse of ochre sand. This was the shifting sand maze. The very ground beneath their feet was alive, with dunes rising and falling like giant sleeping beasts. They had to navigate this treacherous, ever-changing landscape where paths disappeared in an instant. Suddenly, the sand erupted around them. Creatures made of grit and malice, sand scuttlers and dust devils, rose to block their path. The corn spear guardian let fly a volley of sharp kernels, pinning the scuttlers down. The broccoli stone warrior stood his ground, a firm fortress against the swirling dust devils, his tough florets breaking their momentum. They fought as one, a symphony of heroic action, pushing through the sandy onslaught. After what felt like an eternity, they escaped the maze, only to face their next trial, the Canyon of Thorns. This wasn't a canyon of rock, but of sharp, twisted plants, desiccated and cruel, that thrived in the arid wasteland. Vicious thorn lashes, beasts woven from these thorny vines, whipped out from the shadows, trying to ensnare them. The broccoli stone warrior used his immense strength to smash through the thorny barricades, clearing a path. The mint wind healer followed closely, her calming aura soothing the aggressive plants just enough for them to pass. It was a slow, painful struggle, every step a victory against the dying land. Finally, bruised but not broken, they emerged from the canyon. There, shimmering in the hazy distance like a mirage of despair, stood the Sand Palace. It was a monstrous structure, sculpted from compressed sand and despair, the heart of the Dust King's power. With grim determination, they entered the palace. The air inside was heavy and silent. In the throne room, they found him. The Dust King, a towering figure of swirling sand and shadow, with eyes that glowed like dying embers. He laughed, a sound like grinding stones, as he rose to meet them. The final battle began. The chamber exploded into a storm of sand and heroic light. The corn spear guardian launched a relentless assault. The broccoli stone warrior absorbed devastating blows from the king's sandy fists. The Dust King was powerful, reforming himself every time they struck a blow. But the heroes had something he didn't: unity. The sweet Potato Seer, focusing all her energy, found a awakens core of compacted darkness within the king's swirling form. Now she cried in a final, coordinated strike. The mint wind healer unleashed a purifying gust of wind. The corn spear guardian fired his most powerful kernel, and the broccoli stone warrior delivered a mighty blow, all aimed at the core. The Dust King let out a final agonizing roar that dissolved into a whisper of wind, and then he was gone, turning into nothing but harmless sand. As the Dust King vanished, a profound silence fell, and then a sound the valley had unheard in what felt like a lifetime: the gentle patter of rain. Dark clouds had gathered, and life-giving water began to fall upon the desert and the valley beyond. The curse was broken. As the heroes journeyed back, they witnessed a miracle. The green was returning. The parched earth drank deeply, and life began to bloom anew. When they arrived home, the Golden Valley was already stirring back to life. The villagers, their faces filled with joy and relief, erupted in a massive celebration. There was music, dancing, and a feast greater than any before. The heroes were lifted onto shoulders, their names chanted in songs of gratitude. As the celebration reached its peak, the sweet Potato Seer stepped forward. A hush fell over the crowd. She looked at her fellow heroes, at the joyful villagers, and at the greening valley around them. "Hardship may come," she said, her voice filled with quiet wisdom. "Shadows may fall. But as long as we stand together, as long as we have courage in our hearts, and hope as our guide, there is no darkness that can extinguish the light of life. The valley is strong, not because of its soil, but because of its spirit." And in the reborn Golden Valley, her words planted a new seed of hope, promising a future that would shine even brighter than the past. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more adventures. See you next time.